My name is Phil Weiss. My firm is Apprise Wealth Management. And at Apprise, I work with women facing new beginnings. And my motivation for doing that is I want to help to keep other women from experiencing the things that I saw my mother go through when I was growing up. Growing up in my household, it was the normal family model. My father was responsible for the finances. My mother was responsible for taking care of my sister and I. But here's the thing, my father, he wasn't good at it at all. We had unpaid bills, we had no credit, there were no real savings, nothing. I remember when I got my driver's license, I had to go to the local utility companies to pay bills because our services were turned off and they needed to be paid to turn them back on. When it was time for me to go to college, I was told, go anywhere you want. And I was going to be a doctor, and I decided I was going to go to Duke. Well, I did a lot to stay in school. I even spoke to the president of the school about my situation. But after my junior year, I had to pay back what I owed before I could finish. So I left. I ended up, it was a toxic situation at home. I moved across the country to Tucson. When I was ready to go back to school, I wasn't going to get a psychology degree and go to graduate school. I wasn't going to be a doctor anymore. I was going to be an accountant. I applied to the University of Arizona because I had Arizona residency from living in Tucson. I applied to Rutgers because I still had residency because of my parents. And I decided to come back home because I was going to get a better job when I graduated. While I was back in school, my mother went back to school. And my mother became an occupational therapist and ultimately started a business. And I know that she did all that because she was trying to put herself in a position where she could leave my father and survive on her own. Unfortunately, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. After I finished school, I moved back home because I paid for my college and my rent with credit cards, so I was not in the best of financial position myself. But one day I go to get the mail, and there's credit card bills. They have my name on it, but they weren't mine. My father had forged my name to get credit cards. And I knew it for a fact because one of the credit card companies sent me a copy of the application and it was his handwriting. I confronted him. I called the companies. They took the cards out of my name and put them into his because he'd been paying, so they thought that was okay. I made sure those balances were paid off. I moved out of my house. Like I said, we found out my mom had stage 4 breast cancer. She asked me to help. That's when we found out how bad things really were. Those credit cards, my father didn't pay them, so now they were all overdue, in collection. My parents had to sell their house while my mother was going through treatment because the mortgage was at a really high rate and they were behind and they were going to get foreclosed on. So I did what I could to help, but unfortunately, my mom didn't make it. Her cancer metastasized to her brain and she passed away. So now I view the work that I do as trying to help keep other women from going through what my mother did. As part of what I do, I'm also now a registered life planner, and that's an experiential process. So I have my own life plan. And I'll tell you that the first element of my life plan is to create a scholarship for women who go back to school later in life in memory of my mom, and like I said, to help women not have these things. And ultimately, I'd like to take a percentage of my firm's revenues and tie it to what I contribute to that scholarship every year. I've looked into some organizations to do that with. I'm not happy, so I've started to put some money away until I can figure out the way that I can do it on my own. And so that's my why.